background.
That's awesome.
All right, I think I just got my audio hooked up. Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm having a little under the sea party here.
I see. I see.
I see Els floating in space.
That's right.
Anything to keep it fun. While we're you know, the situation calls for anything necessary to keep it interesting. I was actually gonna wear my scuba mask.
Oh, you should have.
But I didn't have time to dig it out of the garage. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
We got Tim on the line. We'll let it go a couple more minutes. I'm trying to be a little more start things a little more on time. I know I've been giving everyone like more of a leeway lately, which is understandable, but also trying to get to being a little more punctual. While we're waiting for a couple people, I'll give you guys a couple tips on some Zoom etiquette. And hey, Maury, long time no see. I believe we just got Joey on the line too. So a little bit of Zoom etiquette. So if possible, and by the way, I love seeing all you guys' faces, so thank you for that. One thing I was going to share, it's great if you can. Sometimes you can't, but if you can, it's great to share your face. It's a great way for all of us to connect with each other. When you join a group, we had an issue this morning in the team meeting. And we're going to try to make it so that everyone, you join with mute on by default, and then just unmute yourself to talk. But if you're not talking, it's great for everybody if you just mute yourself. There's a little button in the bottom left-hand corner to mute yourself. So like I was saying, usually you should be on mute by default when you join a group, but and then you just unmute yourself. Little trick, we're all getting to know Zoom really well these days. You can leave it on mute, and then you can just press the space bar, and it will unmute you as long as you have the space bar pressed down. So you can leave it on mute, and then when you have a question, just press the mute bar, say your question, and then unmute it. Also, when you log in, look at that. All of you guys are logged in with your name. That's great. Just if you notice yourself when you log in that it doesn't have your name on there, it's great if you could put your name there. It helps the person who's administrating it to know, like, for example, if somebody's got an audio issue or if there's a problem somewhere, they can see who it is who's having the issue. Sometimes from whoever's moderating, from their point of view, sometimes you see somebody pop up, also there's an iPhone, and you don't know, and you realize this person's their audio is leaking all over the place. They have a siren in the background. You can't get a hold of them. All right, but none of that is all important. We've got a couple minutes. So I think we're ready to get up and going here. So today we are doing Shift Continued, Part 3. All right. Joey, there you are. Yeah, Joey, you're on the line too, right? I'll unmute you, Joey.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's jump in. So keep this all in perspective. So here's the book, right? Where am I? Here's the book. you can't even say, hold on, let me take off my little under the sea. Hold on. It's funny, and it's also distracting. Okay, if the book, to start off, tactic 1 was, well, actually, there's even a bit to start out with, but tactic 1, which we covered a couple of days ago on Monday, was all about getting into mindset, right? Getting our mindset on track, shifts happen. The tactic 2 yesterday was all about, let's get our expense management. First thing we want to do when a shift happens is get our expenses in line, right? And for those of you who weren't able to make yesterday's call, there's the book shift, and there's also the class shift that is available through KW Connect. For part 2 that we did yesterday, more so than any other part I've read so far, the book and the class veer off into, they're slightly different. So if you have a chance, go back and because the tactic 2 in the class, which you have available for download, is kind of like a workbook that you can use to identify expenses you don't need and whatnot. So if you have a chance, go back and do part 2, the 2 when you have them when you're going to go through expenses. That will help you identify what expenses you can cut. All right, so today we are going to be jumping in. Let me share my screen here. Shift part 3. Here we go. Oops, hold on. Is that the beginning? Hold on. Let me escape out of here. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. So shift part 3 is all about leverage. And hold on, let me open up my iPad here because I've got the notes in my iPad.
You want me to start off reading a little bit for you?
Actually, Joe, if you don't mind, because I did want to start here. This was the opening to the. This is on page. For those of you who are reading along in the workbooks, you have it printed out. This is on page 6. Perspective. I wanted to read these few paragraphs to start us off, Joe, because I felt like it was a great starting point.
I agree.
The MREA teaches us that to achieve at the highest level, our focus must be on the activities that matter the most. The 3 L's: leads, listing, and leverage. And if you have, we have a lot of triangles in Keller Williams lingo and all over our literature. The most common one you see is with the L's on each side, right? Leads, listing, and leverage. These are the fundamentals. These are the goals. These are the things that should matter the most for any agent in any stage of their career and in any market. Agents who understand this truth and continue to focus on mastering leads, listings, and leverage will be the ones to not only survive in a shifting market, but thrive. They may change some of their tactics, but these agents don't panic and let the market dictate their strategy. Ultimately, and this is a quote from the Buellers in Flower Mound, Texas, ultimately you will make it in whatever market you are in if you have a plan, you follow it, and you take it to the end. So today we're talking all about leverage. The MREA, Joe, you got some background noise going on there.
Sorry, get me out of here.
Okay. The MREA also teaches us that when you put your energy, creativity, and skills into achieving the first 2 L's, generating leads and building the listing side of your business, you almost certainly will need leverage to break through to the next level. Okay, so here we are. So what are we talking about when we talk about leverage? High achievers know that all 3 forms of leverage, there's 3 parts of leverage, right? There's the people, who's going to do it, the systems, how will they do it, and the tools, what will they use to do it? High achievers know that all 3 forms of leverage, people, systems, and tools, must be used in concert, but that the people are the most powerful form of leverage. So that's what a lot of today is going to focus on, is people leverage. Now, I see a few people on the phone who on the call here who are fairly new in your real estate career. I encourage you, don't just drop out. Hang in here. First of all, you have more, even with people are concerned, you have more people leverage already than you even probably even realize. And this will help. Being on this call will help you get a handle on this and help you kind of. There's going to be some of the stuff is going to come to you fairly quickly in the next 6 months, a year. And this is great for you guys to be learning now. So to hang in there, please. I know it may seem like, why the hell am I learning about assistance and, people leverage? I'm just trying to stay afloat myself and get through my first year of real estate, right? So hang in there, please. I promise you, I was thinking about this with you guys in mind, and there's a lot of great material in here. I will tell you, as you guys know, I've said this many times for those of you guys who are coach, that I started when I was brand new. It was a shifting market, and I read this, and I was kind of thinking the same thing. And it helped me because very quickly I found ways of leveraging using people, and not all of it required writing out paychecks. Some will eventually, but some don't. Okay. How do you know when it's time to add leverage, right? Well, look at how you spend your time, which activities make you money, which activities bring you joy. If you're spending time on activities that bring you neither, then you need to think about at least subcontracting. There's this paragraph that's in the workbook here that I loved that says, let's not forget that in fact, I thought this was like the best paragraph that kind of summarizes today. Let's not forget that you are in, by the way, bear with me one second here. Let me just make sure we're recording this. Sorry guys, give me one second. I just wanted to make sure we were recording because there was something recently that I didn't record that afterwards I was crushed that I hadn't done so. Okay, so back here, never mind. Okay, back to this paragraph from the workbook that we have that you can download. Let's not forget that you're in the real estate sales business. So the question was, oh, hold on a second here. I take this back. So to make this a little more, I'm trying to make things a little more interactive here. In the chat bar, let me ask you this. Which of your activities are the most dollar productive? And you can just type it in the chat bar. We'll all see it. What do we got there? What are some answers? Which of your activities are the most dollar productive? Networking, which I will consider as part of lead gen, calling my sphere of influence, touching our core. Tears running down my cheek. Oh, love it. You guys are awesome. Yes, lead generation, follow up on open house calls to your database. Yes, absolutely. Lead generation, first of all, number one, first and foremost. Oh, look at that. Everybody gets an A. Yes, wonderful stuff. Yes, this is all. You guys must have an awesome team leader, have taught all your stuff well, right? This is all great stuff. Yes, lead generation. So here's what it says. This is coming from the workbook. Let's not forget that you are in the real estate sales business. So you should have answered that the activities that make you the most money are lead generation, love it, lead conversion, listing houses, and selling houses. You might also add that your time is well spent on training and practice to help you build those skills. As your business and team grows, additional dollar productive activities will be recruiting, hiring, training, and consulting your staff. That's it. That's it. Those are the critical money-making activities that need to matter the most to you. I love that. Joey, feel free to chime in any moment if you want.
So, what I have learned from some top producers early on was the importance of leverage, but you also have to earn the right to leverage, right? You have to earn the right to be able to top grade your activities. An early coach of mine gave me an exercise to do. And that exercise was because I was getting to the limits of what I could do all by myself. So he said, for the next 2 weeks, write down all the activities that you've done. And he said, okay, I come back at the end of the 2 weeks. He said, okay, now choose the activities that are the most dollar productive for you, most tied to your producing a revenue. I did that. And then he said, all right, now, is there anything else on the other side that you love doing and that you can't, live with not doing? Yes, no, there might have been one or two things. So, there's 20 things on, more than that. There were like 40 things on the list, and there were 5 to 7 things that were highly dollar productive, and like maybe one other thing that I love to do, right? And he said, you need to find a way to give those other things away. So what are we up to? 8 out of 40. There are like 22 to 32 things that I needed to give away to somebody else, leverage. And what that means is leverage somebody. But I had to earn the right to do that. I had to have so much business that it would support me paying someone to do that activity to make more room for me to do more of the activities that were dollar productive, right? And make more money.
I love that.
So
Joey, I imagine as a team leader, one
start
mistake
thinking about,
yeah, as a team leader, I imagine one thing that you've probably seen many people do over the years is hiring an assistant, especially like a full-time one, too early, and before they could really afford it. Joey, did you get that?
there's so many ways to make a mistake in that. Too early. Yeah. Could you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I on some kind of delay? Is that the problem? Lorna said I was on a delay earlier.
I think you might be.
There's several different ways that happens. You know, what let me try with the earbud thing. Is that better?
Yeah, it does. Actually, it seems to be much better.
All right, it's the earbuds. Thanks, Lorna. So there's several ways to screwing up the whole thing. Number one is hiring when you don't have the funds to pay them, not hiring the right person, right? Not hiring up enough, right? And then third, not having a plan for that person, right? Not knowing what you really want them to do.
That's great. Joey, I'm sure you could talk about that more, but I'm going to hold you off there because in a minute we're going to cover all this stuff, and that's what today is all about. Okay. The next part talks about change the way you do business. So, today we're going to talk about as your business grows, begin to change the way you view your business from a do-it-all yourself enterprise to one which is leveraged with help from others. Right? We're going to talk today is all about how do you go about doing that. And then we're also going to talk about what do you do when the market changes to tighten that up. Okay. This is in your workbook. I don't believe this is in the Shift book. I don't remember, but I believe this is only in the workbook if I remember correctly. They've got this decision tree, right? That talks about you have decisions to make when it comes to people leverage. So do you have people to help you? Yes or no? If yes, it goes on. If no, well, get leverage. Use allied resources, subcontract help, add staff. And we're going to go into that later, but those are the three ways we can get people leverage: allied resources, subcontractors, or we actually hire people on. So not all of it is hiring people on. There's other ways. And then there's other things. Do you have enough people? Do you have the right people? Are they doing the right things? Are they doing the right things well? And then what to do in each of these scenarios, right? Okay, we're going to go on. Okay, we just covered that. So you may be in the stage of your career where you are a solo agent. You can still have a team. In fact, to succeed, you must have a team. The team concept, start thinking about your team, not just as the people you employ, but as the larger circle of people in your life who can help you achieve your goals. Okay, here's our next chat bar exercise. I'm really pushing this. I'm really trying to get this more interactive. I'm just laughing at some of the stuff I'm missing in the chat bar. Wait, what's going on here? So who's on your team? Make a list of the people on your team. Don't forget, I won't say that, but in the chat bar, so who are some people that we might have on our team? Obviously, an assistant or the obvious people, a buyer's agent, but who are some of the other people who might be on our team? I'm gonna have to sample the Jeopardy music so I can play it. TC, lender, title, TC, kids, escrow title, escrow. Yeah, inspectors. Yeah, great. So here's what they've got in the teacher's manual here. Lenders, I love that. Lenders are probably like, when I think over the course of my career, I've always had like great partner lenders who I almost feel like, God, like maybe other than like my assistant, who are probably like the most people involved in my business, who I talk to and communicate and learn, who I partner with the most, I feel like. Social media. Here's what's coming out of the answers manual here. Tim, all I see is a bunch of asterisks. I'm assuming because it was a bunch of profanity that got bleeped out, right?
Lenders was a good answer.
Okay, here's what's in the manual here: spouses, partners, family, friends, fellow agents, vendors, employees, business leaders, service providers. These are all people who can help us in our business. Quick little anecdote. I remember when I was a very new agent and I was on the East Coast, I was going to get up against, in my world, I was going to up against these two big teams all the time. And every time I was on a listing presentation, it was me and then these big ass teams of like 15 people on them. And when I'd go up against them, it was like David versus Goliath. And so what my coach had me do, which I thought was brilliant. So I grabbed my vendor, my lender, my title. We didn't have escrow, but my we had closing attorneys on the East Coast. All these people, my home inspector, and I was like, everybody, I need you all to do me a favor. I need you to all come dressed up and meet me at the office. And so when they met me at the office, we all took a group photo, and that was me and my team. And so when they would say, "Here's my team," I go, "Oh, that's funny. Well, here's my team." You know, and here's all these people here. These are all people who are going to touch your transaction if you do business with me. And I would go through it. Here's why this person is important. This is the title person. He's going to be the one checking the title so that when we buy. And anyway, so there's ways of incorporating all these people. Let me go back to sharing here.
It's the truth too. This is your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And by
It's
the way,
not, it's not a stretch. These are people who are all partnering with you to get your client what they want.
Absolutely. And as you grow, you may want to consider having like a monthly meeting with you and your team, meaning including your lender, including your title, like having a little team powwow. Like, what do we got going on? How can we help each other? Right. Okay. So moving on here, here's what we got. Acquiring the talent unit. We talked about this, how the people we can hire on as people leverage includes our allied resources, individuals who are working as subcontractors, so not necessarily employees, and then individuals who you will employ on your team. First thing we're going to cover is leveraging your allied resources, which we just started to do. Every day you come in contact with people, you should consider your allied resources, right? People who can help you build, sustain, and improve your business. Some contract your way up. Free partnerships with allied resources. Let me see. Oh yeah, okay. They represent a great creative way to get more done without adding any personal overhead to your operation. This could include business tasks and personal tasks. Okay, well, we're not there yet. Let me give you these are some highlights that I got from the book. So for example, here's some examples they had, which I thought some of these were pretty good. If you have a local mortgage or title company, they can, if they're using charts and graphs for their presentations, you can ask if you can leverage those for your stuff. Lender partners should also be available to you and your customers to answer questions about financing options, right? So it's not just you answering financing questions. That should be, we do that a lot, especially with someone great like Andy. Ask at closing, ask the closing company or our escrow company if they're going to be doing follow-up marketing, if we can piggyback onto their standard post-closing mailings to the buyer and seller. And maybe we can add in our own blurb in there. Here's a good one. Find out what other types of businesses are targeting your same geographic farm. For example, restaurants, tree trimming services, house cleaning services. You can partner up with them to update your database of addresses and look for creative ways to co-market your service. For example, Lorna, I remember Tracy saying you guys are going to be doing some door knocking around the neighborhood, passing out some flyers and stuff. You could have a little bit of like a market update in a format, and you may want to. You could even ask partners like Andy or something. They may have a paragraph that they may want to include in that and put it together, and they could even help you get that stuff out the door.
And Andy's been great about that. We have had her do that with us in the past, and she's been fabulous.
Fantastic. You could create an internship position for a young person interested in learning more about the real estate industry. Maybe not right now this minute, but as things become a little more safe. Here's what I thought was great. So right now, some of us have parts of our business that are tied behind our backs, right? We can't get out there. So maybe we have some more time and we want to stay productive. So maybe right now is a time when you want to revamp your pre-listing packet, revamp your buyer consultation packet, right? Your buyer packet. Right now, there's probably a lot of people who are out of work, who are graphic designers or students or whatnot. So now might be a great time to find graphic arts students or other people who would be available to do creative marketing materials, website images, stationery as a course project. Partner with local, regional, and national moving companies to promote their services and to be the first to learn when people are moving in and out of the community. Not me, but when I was on the East Coast, I had someone I was really close with was a part of a B&I group, and they had somebody who had a moving company who was in their B&I group, and their mover, you would think that we'd be giving a lot of business to movers, but it was actually the other way around. Their movers were giving them a heads up, like whenever they had an appointment with people who are moving either in or out from the community, they were saying, by the way, do you have a good real estate agent? So that's just something you may want to keep in your back pocket and think about. Partner up with other agents to hold networking events. I've always thought, so if you guys know the MREI book, look at that, prepared right at my desk, ready to go. The MREI book is, of course, all about how to, it's a great thing to give to an investor the first time you meet up with them. But in that book, there's also a part of that book that teaches you everything that you need to know as an agent to hold an investment seminar. And in fact, if you go to Keller Inc., there's material on there that you can use as part of an investment seminar. It's like, it tries to give you everything you need to make an investment seminar really easy to do. You could partner up with another agent to do that together. It's just a wonderful thing to do. I've never done a seminar, but I know people who have. In fact, I know someone here in the South Bay who is doing the ABCs of ADUs, right? And let me tell you, they were packing the house every time they would do that. So there you go. There's one you may want to consider. Here's a little Rebecca Rivers, who's married to Gene Rivers of the Rivers team. Those of you, any of you are on the ALC, you know Gene Rivers because he taught the ALC clinic back in December. Phenomenal guy. Anyways, she's talking about how she approached local companies about a marketing campaign in line with their paperless, quote, Go Green program. Here's what she says. We have a subset of our database we call our Special Client Club, explains Rebecca. Every month, we send out email certificates worth $5 to a different local vendor. It could be to Marble Slab Creamery in Cold Stone, or it could be to, she says, Connie's Hams. I don't know, we don't have Connie's Hams here, but whatever, you know, whatever, $5. And she says the best part about it is that when these clients get the certificate with their name on it, they find instructions that say, you need to email your favorite agent or call them to get the code. If they don't do that, it still gives the agents an excuse to call the ones that they want to call and say, hey, I'm calling to give you the code this month for your certificate, explains Rebecca. I don't know, just an idea. I thought it was pretty neat. Bottom line, she says, even though you are not in an employer-employee relationship with your allied resources, this is moving on. They're talking about this other part here. You must ensure that their activities and behavior reflect well upon you and reinforce your standards of customer service and professionalism. Okay, subcontract your way up. Okay, let's skip that. We've gone. It includes personal tasks as well. So I've heard Gary Keller says that even when he was pretty new, there is no job that is too small that he wouldn't consider subcontracting out. So consider, you may want to have a house cleaner, a child care, pet sitting, home and car maintenance, bill preparation, bookkeeping, yard care, and this is personal stuff, right? One way of leveraging is if you find somebody who takes care of mowing your lawn, that gives you 4 hours a week or whatever that you're not mowing your lawn, that now you can spend more time to your business, and then that free time, it frees up time where you can spend with your family, with your friends, doing the things you love doing, right? Okay. The question is, where do you find professionals who are looking for part-time, per transaction, or short-term work assignments? Some agents find that, start by finding out what services your market center office offers. Your market center may provide or know of individuals who provide specialized professional services. Some market centers may have a contract management specialist who assists agents on a per transaction basis, for example. At KW Larchmont, you would be,
so I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Joey. You know where I was
just going to say
please.
technology is also, yes, we're a resource. We have a lot of different resources, and we've collected a great group of people who do great things in their very specialized areas. But technology also, TaskRabbit and Pickup and all these different resources. I mean, a little bit of money. I got a 1960s organ moved out of a house into my back house, and so it was easy as going on my phone and orchestrating the whole thing. It was a no-brainer. So there's lots of leverage in that respect. And little things.
Absolutely. And in our market center, one of the coolest thing that Joey's provided is that we have Raha, who, first of all, even if you were to pay Raha, her rates are very reasonable, and she's really good. I mean, I've had 5 or 6 TCs throughout time, and Raha was other than the one I trained myself and who was, because I told her exactly how I liked everything done. Other than the one I trained myself, Raha is by far the best. And the kicker is if you use Larchmont Escrow, her fee is reimbursed by KW Larchmont. I mean, just low, no brainer there. I can't imagine why you'd ever want to TC anything yourself when we have something like that available, but that's just me. Okay. They also talk about, you could also, like Joey kind of mentioned this as well, you can hire a virtual assistant. Keep up with virtual assistant is a great way for you to leverage experienced top talent without having to pay someone on full-time payroll with benefits. There's some great VA ones out there for different purposes. My Outdesk is one that will do follow-up calls and stuff. I would hesitate on using a VA for using lead generating, especially at first. Use one for administrative work at first is what I would recommend. But keep the lead generating in your court as long as possible. There will be a time when you can outsource some of that, but that's one of the last things you want to let go of, in my personal opinion.
Let me jump in just a second.
Yeah,
I just had this conversation with an agent on the West Side, and we were talking about assistants, and he said, I'm thinking about getting somebody to lead generate, hiring a VA to lead generate for me. And I said, well, if we're going off the concept that lead generation is relationship building, how do you think that handoff is going to go? So the VA is going to, or the outside sales associate is going to make the call and say, hey, Joey wants to be your friend, right? And so, but I'm going to kind of, see if that's possible first. I'm gonna see do you need anything? I'm going to see if it's okay for you to be Joey's friend, right? And then they get them all pumped up, and then I have to take over, right? So especially in our market, I think that it's important for us to be the connector, right? To be that person who creates the relationship. Now, the VA can absolutely be utilized to foster the relationship, right? I'm calling for Joe once the relationship's established, but I think it's difficult to get into an intimate relationship with someone of value through a VA. So there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that's a great point, Joe, especially as you mentioned, because in LA, because of the price points, we tend to have far less volume and a far more competition and at a far higher price. We do less deals that are worth a lot less money. And because of that, the relationships are so key. You have to cover a lot more ground when you're in a smaller market where the average deal size is a couple $100,000 or even $400,000 a deal. You got to do a lot more volume, and you can't do it. You can't do what you can do here in LA as much. That's one thing where
it's the most uncomfortable.
Yeah. Here, when you see people doing it, it's typically,
and it's the most uncomfortable activity too, right?
Yeah. Adding on to that, Joe, here when you see people do it, in my experience, when I've seen people hire on ICEs and it's because they don't want to do it. It's for all the wrong reasons. It's not because they're so busy and that they're trying to leverage. It's just because they're trying to buy out of parts of the business that they don't want to do. And unfortunately, you know, lead generation is a giant part of what we want to do. And sometimes that you call, you know, that's picking up the phone, you know, as part of it. Okay. Okay. So let me, so hire, okay. We don't skip that. Hire the best. The next step. Okay. So if you've determined, if you determine it's time to hire somebody, the next step is to hire permanent staff, right? We've talked about a little bit on VA and 1099 type people, contractors. And if once you get past that point, the next step is to hire permanent staff. Because employing others represents a greater commitment. Remember to follow a few rules. And by the way, I didn't see this anywhere in here, but Gary Keller has always had this great quote that has always stuck with me over the years. That is very simple. It says, "Slow to hire, quick to fire." Most people in our industry do the reverse and have the problem of hiring quickly and then hanging on if the person's not working out for way too long. When, you know, we want to do the exact opposite in general, not always. Sorry, kid just threw a ball in it and hit the window, rattled. Train of thought. Yes, we want to, there's a process that KW teaches, which is one of the coolest things that we've got about KW in all the education we do. We have a great system that will help you identify, train, track, and hire the right person for the right job if you use it systematically and adhere to it. It was back in my day, it was, you know, in 2010 when I started, it was called what, RSTLM, right? Recruit, select, train, lead, manage. And now it's called career visioning. We have a defined class, and there's a class that corresponds to this. If you're getting to the point where you are getting ready to hire a permanent person or a employee, not a 1099, a W-2 employee, when you get to that point, I highly, highly, highly recommend taking that class. It's offered, Joe, you know more than I do. It's offered through the region, right?
We just completed one about a month ago, but we'll probably teach it like 3 times. The region will teach it about 3 times a year. It's an invaluable skill set. I've taken it I think 5 times now, maybe 6. It's a great skill to have. Hiring the right person saves you so much time, energy, and money, and is pivotal to getting your business moving to that next level. Imagine every time you hired a new assistant, you had to restart the whole machine, that you would come back down to, you know, it's like chutes and ladders, you know, you can land on that space and it takes you back to, you know, near the beginning. You wouldn't hire another assistant ever. Take my word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see Kayla going back and forth there.
So the overall parts of career visioning: screen, the number 1 screen, 2 interview, 3 perspective, 4 commitment. And we'll kind of skip through that a little bit. I'll say this. Well, now we'll skip through that. They talk about make sure all the people you hire are the same being an acronym. S, smart, quick, intelligent. It's as much as about EQ, emotional intelligence, as it is about IQ, says Dave Jenks. A, attractive to clients and others. You want people who can speak well on the phone and be, you know, who can be an extension of your brand, who you want this person representing your company, right? Motivated and ethical, right? Let's see. So let's talk a little bit about the hiring path of millionaire real estate agent. This is in the MREA book. Do they have the model in here? Oh, they don't. Okay, so we won't go this in depth, but you know, you want to build your team by adding administrative help first, then sales, and then more admin if needed. identify leaders for your buyer side and your listing side. Eventually, identify a CEO to run it all for you, allowing you to step out at the 7th level and earn residual income by owning an asset-based business, which this can be done. Gene Rivers, who taught the ALC clinic, you know, he was telling us as far as his sales business goes, I mean, he's got his hands in like 8 different businesses now, but as far as his sales business, he has someone who runs it, and he's the CEO. He checks in on it 4 hours a week or so, and he's out. Like, the business runs itself, right? All right, so now that's a little bit about, you know, hiring people, what we do to gain leverage. Let's talk about taking stock of what you got. And this is where, hold on, let me make sure I find it in the book, in the workbook here. By the way, the book goes into a lot more detail on the 7th level and all the different levels, as does the MREA. But right now, okay, so let's talk about taking stock of what you got in a shifting market. You should, here's the bottom line. Do you have the right people on your team? They say you should ask this scrutinizing question of your hires, but also of your subcontractors and even of your allied resources. When you are facing a downturn in the market and in your transaction volume, this will be the question that will lead you into the important discussion about remargining your business. And again, some of this goes back to shift tactic 2 from yesterday, managing your expenses. So if you need to get refresh on that, you can. So it says, let's look at that people leverage decision tree again. Notice the sequence of the questions. You must determine if you have the right people before you get tangled up in assessments about whether they are doing the right things. You must determine if your people are talent in the way that you need them to be. This is essentially a yes or no question. If you skip this question and begin asking if their scripts are effective, if they're providing your standard of customer service, if they are strong on lead conversion, if they manage your books with the right software applications, you are missing the point. First, you want to talk about, do you have the right people? And then you figure out if they're doing the right things. Oh, they don't have it in here. Oh, okay. The right people are the right people, even if they need some training or coaching or a modified job description. They fit the definition of talent. They're a behavioral match, and you want them on your team in some capacity. Then there's the wrong people. The wrong people are the wrong people by definition. The wrong people can't do the right things. They're not a fit. They're not talent, and you have to take action. Some agents assume a parental relationship of obligation with their people and feel great guilt and discomfort about evaluating the value and performance of their team members. You must remember to see your business as a business, and in a shifting market, your business may be a business at risk. And here, this is some harsh talk here, but it's, you know, in harder market conditions, team members with so-so skills may have remained on the team protected by statements like, he's a good guy, every transaction helps, this next year will be his year, I just know it. Well, he tries hard, that should count for something. I have known his family for years, he's my second cousin, I haven't had time to think about recruiting anyone else. A shifted market, right, can have many effects on your business. One is that it often exposes weaker talent that has been coasting along on the good times. Look for these essential attributes in employees, subcontractors, and allied resources. Okay, now we're back onto the screen here. Strong work ethic, resilient attitude, trainable and into mastery, and willingness to follow your systems. Right?
And I would add one more thing.
Yeah.
Get in business with people who elevate your business. Get in people that elevate your business, that don't just fill an order, but take your business to the next level. Represent you in the way you want to be represented, and your brand wants to be represented. Be conscious of the way they talk to people, how they talk to people they care about, how they talk to people that they don't care about. You know, you want to make sure there are plenty of lovely people who can fill the order. When you're in business with somebody who goes above and beyond, that will elevate your business. That's surrounding your business with mastery, and everything gets pulled up. Everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I love that. Yeah, hey, Joe, you remember when Gene Rivers was telling us, like, your first assistant, when you hire your first assistant, when you finally gone through the process and you've realized you got the right assistant, you hire them. This is getting a little out in the weeds there, but I just want to show. He was saying the first thing you should have them do is just follow you around for 3 days and just write down everything you do, and they're going to follow you around for a couple days, 2 or 3 days, and just write down, here's what you do. Here apparently is the system you use when you do this, and here's whenever you know, and they'll formulate it. And he said at the end of that, what's going to happen is that the assistant is going to go, you know, yeah, I've jotted down, here's what you do every time you have a listing appointment here. And, you know, Mr. Rivers, I don't know how the hell you've gone this far without me. You are a mess. Like, you need me to get in there, you know, and immediately start finding, they will just go to town, because you're probably at that point running way, way too thin. I did not give him proper. It was better.
I
from
would
Gene.
go one step further and sure, I would go one step further and say, even if you're a single agent right now, start creating a manual of everything you do, checklist for all parts of the procedures. They exist already. You can modify, but get into the minutia of what you do while you're doing it, right? And you go back, and when you're ready to hire an assistant, you already have a jumping point. You still want to hire somebody who takes it to the next level, but you don't want to have to remember the minutia of how you do things. It's so much better to have that already documented and say, okay, study this for a little while, yeah, and follow me for a couple days, and between those two things, and then at the end of that, let me know how to make all of it better, right? But they have a jumping point, they have a reference point of how you've been running your business, at least at that point, right? So I would say, just even if it's just real sketchy and kind of unorganized, get that information down there and start to gather it, number one, right?
That's great.
Wherever you are in your business.
So here it talks about, are your people a behavioral fit? So each job has its own behavioral requirements, right? When the behavioral traits of a person match the behavioral requirements of the job, they'll experience job behavioral comfort. When a person's behavioral traits are not matched to the job behavioral discomfort is more likely to result, and this can lead to bad business for all involved. So what are we talking about here? These are signs like fatigue, fear, physical illness, stress, depression, frustration, insecurity. When people are in a job that does not match them well, you know, they will start, you know, having these reactions happen, some of which when they may not even be able to control, you know. No one wins if a person is forced into a role.
They can do some of it. They may even do some of it. They may.
Yep.
I'm sorry. They may even do some of it really well. Some of the parts really well, but it's not going to excel at it. So putting the wrong, it doesn't serve anyone to put a person in a role that is not a fit with their natural way of doing things. It's just a disconnect a gap that you will never ever fill, right? You can go from medium to high, but you can't go from low to high in natural skill sets.
Love it.
Sorry.
Next part's talking about, do you need to top grade or de-hire? People often hire employees too quickly and hold on to them way too long when things aren't working out. We talked about that a little bit. They say, are they going through this exercise? Let's see. Well, okay, let me say this real quick. So, you know, remember before, where we talk about everybody who's on our team, including allied resources, including contractors we could hire. If you have people that you're already working with, they suggest rating them from 1 to 10, 10 being above average. one being, not a good fit. Let's say you use the color. So for those who rated an 8, 9, or 10, find ways to reward and recognize their contributions, performance, and attitude. Continue training and coaching them for future success. For the people you rated as red or average team members, you need to address issues immediately. In your mind, these people are worth the effort, and you anticipate that they will be able to make the improvements necessary to fit into and bring value to the team. So you want to find ways to reward and recognize the specific things they are doing well. Establish an action plan for how you will address any shortcomings. Continue to train and coach them for performance improvement. Pretty self-explanatory. For those who are 1, 2, or 3, they likely need to be dehired. If you know now that they are a drain on your financial resources, your time, your physical energy, your mental energy, your team's healthy dynamic, or your precious relationships with your clients, you need to take action. It's not personal, it's business. Take action to protect and ensure the health of your business. Truth, people often hire, we already did that. Okay, don't be afraid to get out of business relationships with people on your team who are not contributing as you need them to. If you have treated them fairly and professionally, and you continue to do so when you have the honest conversation about their future on the team, you are not being cruel or callous, and you should not feel guilty. It's not personal, it's business. I remember I had a buddy of mine who was he and I were really good friends. We hung out all the time. And God damn it, the guy we would play golf, and half the time was about how much he needed to fire his assistant, which was funny the first time I played golf with him, but this was going on for a year. And there was a few of us who, we were all in the same office together. We played golf together, and we told them, we were like, either fire them or you are not allowed to mention their name while we play golf, because we had it, right? So some people just, and it was for all the wrong reasons. She just felt guilty. This guy felt guilty because this girl was someone who was a family friend or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. You have an awful assistant. Like, I agree with your assessment. I know you can't hire mine, and don't even think about it. But there you go. All right. Anyways, it's not to be callous about it. But in the end, it's business. And some people are the right fit for the right job. And if you made a mistake, best to cut your loss. Don't make that mistake worse with another mistake, which is keeping them on for an extended period of time. Maybe there's a right way of helping them find another job, or giving a package or something to ease their pain. But that's something that has to be done, Okay. So focus
Ed,
on doing yes.
On the flip side of that, always be looking for talent. There's talent everywhere. Always be looking for talent, and take note and recognize and hire when you can, or refer to somebody else, because talent is an invaluable commodity.
Yeah. I recently read the book, The Virgin Way by Richard Branson. And by the way, phenomenal book. I highly recommend it. Not right now, though. When you're finished with shift and all that kind of stuff, that's more important. But someday, if you have time, oh my God, it's one of my top 10 favorite business books. And that was one of the things which reminded me of Gary Keller saying this all the time, of being on the lookout for talent. And, when you get that in your mind, it's just, you see that some places. Like I've got a long commute. I get to drive to Larchmont. And one day I was driving, and there was a guy who, not the most affluent part of town I was driving through. I don't even know what part of town I would describe it as. But there was a guy in front of his store who was sweeping but the curb in front of his store, which was like not even his domain, but he was sweeping because it reflected on his store. And just stuff, when you see people who are excelling at their jobs, it's such a cool thing to see. And you're like, man, if I had a better opportunity for them, I would love to do that for them. And that's what Richard Branson was talking about in his line of business, where he loves combing all the different parts of his businesses and finding people who are excelling and promoting them. And it's just a lovely thing to do. And when you see people who are in the zone and in that groove, it's such a great thing to do. Just to add to what Joey was saying. Okay, so focus on doing the right things. Are you doing the right things? get back in the game. Quit passing out leads, start passing out appointments, right? Train and coach your people to do the right things well. This is a time to be a great leader, a coach versus a leader boss, right? We want to be inspiring and helping God, especially with what we going on right with what we have going on right now. If you have someone who's on your team, if you have, even if they're an allied researcher, even family members, whoever's helping you out in your business, this is a time to be a leader and strive in your community. With everything going on, there's so much opportunity to be a hero right now. And in this character defining moment, to inspire people to bring out the best in those around us. Right now is the time to inspire people by being a great example, as opposed to being the boss. You know, let me pull out the instruction manual again and show you where you're coming short. A word about systems and tools. So systems is how you get the job done. Tools is what you use to get the job done. Next week, if you guys are in command, one of the very cool, by the way, and command helps us as far as both systems and tools. So command is a tool that we use to get our job done, but also in command, you can also define your systems. And what I mean by that is, if you look in opportunities within command, for each one of those phases, there's the 5 major five major stages, and then under each one of them are, 5 major phases, and within each one there's different stages which you can define. And for those that you can define, you can have a checklist for each one of them. So for example, whenever you say you have a listing and you open up escrow, you probably have a sequence of 10 things that you do every single time that happens. Like Joey was saying, this is a great time to define that. Just write in there, this is what I do. It will, even if you're a single agent, this will help you to keep your business consistent so that you always do the same thing every time, so that a few things are going to happen. First of all, I love this, by the way. A few things will happen as you do this. As you're defining it, you're probably going to even realize as you're creating it in command, you're like, oh, I could probably do this different. Oh, I realize I'm doing this. You know, somebody told me they do this. Now would be a great time. Why don't I implement that? So just by going through the exercise, you'll probably come up with a better system. But once you have it systematized, you'll be able to provide a more consistent level of service every time you provide it, which is great. And whenever it's going to be a lot easier to identify flaws in the system because you're doing the same thing every time. And when you're doing this, when you become an expert because you're doing stuff the exact same way every time, you just can't help but find inefficiencies and ways of doing it better. And when someone says something, you'll be like, oh, that's not in my system that I follow every time. When you're winging it, when you're just rolling on the fly and, oh, I got something in escrow. What the hell am I supposed to do again? Oh yeah, send this contract here. Oh yeah, oh my God, I forgot. I almost forgot to do this. When you're unorganized about it, it's a lot harder to identify where you can improve as you're going through it, because you're just trying to keep your head above water, right? So we'll go over that a little bit in command, but now is a great time to be thinking, like Joey said, what are the systems you do? When you have a listing appointment, when you have an open house, what does that look like? What's that sequence of events? You know, we think our job is super complicated and we do wear a lot of hats, but in the end, it's not as complicated as you would think. Almost we have a finite set of things we do, and almost all of them can be defined through a set of tasks and a system, right? And by the way, tools is something you can leverage, and command is something that can help you guys save money, but also it can also, for example, smart plans can help you leverage so that you're not, when you have a follow-up with an open house, you can be way more efficient in how you follow up with them. That will save you, not only will you follow up in a more efficient, better manner, but you'll also save time by doing it that way. Technology, the ultimate goal in adding technology to your business is to set a higher standard of production for yourself and your staff. One thing I noticed that Gary says in the book is just be careful when we do technology. Don't just start adding bells and whistles because for the sake of doing it. Try to keep your business as simple as, simplicity is also a very good thing too, to keep you running as efficiently as possible. The bottom line, the 80-20 principle, predictably, 80% of our results will come from 20% of our actions. the principle of greatest leverage. When goal is mastery and success, you can leverage your time to yield the highest productivity if you spend time strategically focused on only a few key actions, I should say. This is from the Career Growth Initiative. I'm going to skip that because with command. Don't put this guide without developing a plan to put what you have learned into action. Refer to the action plan on pages 53, 57 of the guide to assess your strengths and areas of improvement. Write down any steps you will take to improve your skills. Complete it, share it, commit to it. So turning to you guys, here, we're going to be covering these other things as the weeks go on. I think Joey dropped. I know he was having some internet issues. Let me escape out of here. Let me stop sharing. Okay, I'm
still in.
Oh, okay, you are still in. Okay, great. I'm gonna
just move to a different device.
Okay, got it. Let's open it up. So, what are some ahas that we got from today's lesson? I was going to mute everybody, but I'm afraid we may have some background noise. So just unmute yourself. There's only 15 of us, so it shouldn't be too much of a jumping all over each other. But yeah, unmute yourself and just what are some ahas from today that we can take away?
I know Tracy and I want to leverage a little bit more, but we're not ready to take on a full-time assistant, and we keep virtual assistants. But I think this is kind of pushing me in that direction. We spend too much time developing marketing materials and jazz that we don't need to be doing. So I think we're going to have to bite the bullet. Of course, after this, but soon. Yeah, I think that's what I'm taking away.
That's a great one. I love that. Who else?
And I would say there's some short-term patches for that too. In the marketing piece, in the social media piece, in the transactional piece, there's probably some patches that you can use short-term before you go in and hire a full-time assistant.
Yeah, I'd say getting the systems in place is important because, when you get a listing or you have a deal and it go through, and as it goes, it kind of progresses, and all of a sudden you remember, I should have done that back here. It would have saved me time. It would have saved me money. It might have got me into escrow sooner. So if you had all those systems there, and then it's autopilot, and it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything to do it.
Yeah. Opportunities is a great way to do that, Tim, because you are like literally putting the whole process in. They had a great, I'll do it with you because they have a great kind of conversation where you're like, okay, so you're taking you're going on a listing appointment. What's the first thing you do to prep for the listing appointment? And they'll say, oh, I'll do comps. Okay, that's the first thing you do. You don't do anything before that. They put down listing appointment. Nope. Oh yeah, well, what I do is I go out and take a picture of the house. Okay, you're right. Take the picture of the house. You put that before the listing appointment. Okay, is there anything you do before you go and take a picture of the house? You do this in minutia until you get to the listing appointment, right? And then that list goes into your opportunities as your pre-listing activities from top to bottom, right? And then you do the listing appointment, and then you do once I get a listing, what do you do? What's the first thing you do once you get the listing contract signed? And you start to dissect it in that way. Dig deeper until you hit pay dirt, and then go in the other direction until you have a very, very detailed list of activities that you do. It's a giant checklist. It's forcing you to create a checklist.
Right.
And it's the greatest gift ever. Yeah.
Agreed.
And literally in opportunities, it's like a living checklist too, because you're like, oh, that's completed, right? Before you can move on, you got to complete everything on your checklist.
Right. I love checklists.
Yeah.
I do.
It's funny creating that.
Good.
and creating checklists, even when, a month ago, we're always like, oh man, I don't have the time to do that right now. That's just such a time suck to come up with a checklist. But when you do that, if you think about it, it's only something that needs to be done once, and you have it. It's done. Once it's done, it's done. And if there may never have been a better time in your entire career than right now to do something like that, because all of us are kind of, we have a little extra time, most of us right now, because some of the things, we have some buyers who may have fallen out. We have some extra time to do stuff like this, so that when the doors for business open again, not that they're shut completely, but we're hindered for sure. Why not take advantage so that you're ready to go?
Yeah,
I think
just anecdotally for me, how many times do you end up having to do it at the last freaking minute? You're avid. You got to go back to the goddamn house and do the advocate, because if it had been on the list, you would have done it and it would have been done. But then you find someday when you don't really want to do it and the deal's going to close, but you haven't got your avid in.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
So this is going to show my command ignorance, but and I haven't taken that class with Merlin. So you're saying that we can somehow import or put our checklists into opportunities? I don't know how that works.
Let me show you how that works. Hold on, Joey, I'll do you one better. Let me share my screen right here. Let me do this. Sorry. I'll give you a 1-minute demo, which then you can tune into command on Monday and we'll go into it deeper. So here's this. Okay, opportunities. So first of all, here are the 5 major phases in which the 5 major phases with each one, there's a stage. So we can go in here. So I've customized these are the stages that I have. So hold on. So when I have an active, so this is, what do we say? This is listing, an active listing, right? Listing appointment. So when I have an active listing, I can go in here and edit this. And for here, these are my stages. So for my listing appointment, I have one that was scheduled, and then I have one that was kept that was not signed yet and moved on, right? So I have one that's kind of still in limbo. I had a listing appointment. I don't know if I've got it yet. For each one of these, you can go in here and you can, they have a checklist, and you can go in here and get as crazy as you want defining what all the checklists are for each one of those stages. So then every time you have a deal back here, I don't have any right now, but if I had a deal that was in that phase, right? As soon as they reach that stage, automatically all those checklists will come up. And if you have a team, you can allocate those to different people. It's pretty slick. There's the end of my 1-minute demo. Okay, any last questions? Yeah. Anyone want to contribute? Any more ahas before we wrap this up?
I want to say something at the end, but wait till everybody else shares their.
All right, I'll just say really quick. I thought it was interesting.
I like your backdrop, Elle.
Oh, thank you. I thought it was interesting about the behavioral fit part. I mean, you're talking about a team, but I mean, it's also self-evaluation too when you're going through certain tasks to see which things might trigger these different symptoms for yourself when you're looking at unloading certain things also.
That's great, Elle.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to say happy birthday. I know Michelle Mena's on there. Say happy birthday to Michelle Mena. I think it was yesterday. I could be wrong. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Today's your birthday or
girl.
yesterday?
Birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Was this your only virtual birthday greeting?
No, actually, I had, I don't really think I look very good right now, which is why I'm on video. I'm not on video. But I had a wine.
So good.
Well, you want to see how bad I look? No.
No.
It's okay. No, I had a wine party with friends of mine.
Tim does, but I'm good.
So we had, I think I killed off 2/3 of the bottle by myself. I slept well. But that was my part of my birthday. Yeah. I had a couple of my friends sent a couple of cupcakes from Magnolia Bakery, if you're familiar with that bakery. It's just an awesome bakery. I think it's on Beverly.
Yeah.
So they sent me a couple of cupcakes that were delivered by one of those delivery companies. And my husband and my daughter got me some really amazing piece of cake this is not good for the diet, from another from another bakery. It's been major sugar.
Cake, sugar and alcohol.
And wine.
Well, congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Piper loves it, apparently. I can't tell.
Yeah, I'm just, it's the weirdest birthday ever to have to spend it this way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have a 16-year-old who's going to spend it this way.
Yeah.
There goes Michelle. There goes a good picture of you, Michelle.
What?
Michelle, there you are. You have your video on.
Did I show up on video?
Tim posted a picture of
that
you.
picture.
Oh, my
You're
picture.
so cute.
No, Tim's got a picture of you that he's putting up.
He's helping us out.
Oh, I thought you actually
see
saw me
it?
on video because it says no video.
There you go. Get a visual.
Okay.
No, Tim's got your Facebook picture up.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. That's good.
Well, happy birthday.
I will
accept that.
Happy birthday, Michelle. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And as far as eating some extra carbs, I will tell you that as the government is testing different techniques and studies on different, I'm doing a test study on whether or not 100 grams of carb per meal will affect coronavirus. And so far I don't have coronavirus. So apparently I'm onto something, you know?
Yeah, all right.
Well, just to let you guys know, my mom actually has it. So
How's she doing?
She's doing okay. She lives at a senior living facility, which is, part of the problem, but she lives in Belmont, Hollywood Hills, the one by between the Hollywood Bowl and the Hollywood and Highland.
Oh yeah.
So I was there 2 weeks ago exactly, and then they wouldn't let family come the next day. Like they literally closed it to family the next day, and then two days after that, they put everybody in isolation. And then the third day after that, we got the email saying that one of the employees had it, and so all these people were getting tested that were close to him, which included my mom. So I'm fine because it's been 2 weeks since I saw her, but she tested positive. So, and I'm glad they tested her when they did, because after that they did that new rule that you're not getting tested unless the test results will change the care, because she didn't have any symptoms. Right. So
she's still asymptomatic?
She's, I would say, mostly asymptomatic, but she's had some discomfort. Like she said, she's had a few mornings that she felt really crappy.
Yeah.
And she's had a little bit of short of breath and a little bit of coughing, but they're monitoring her and gave her a breathing treatment, and family and friends are talking to her every day, so we're keeping her busy on the phone as much as possible. But she's stuck in her room, which is really the problem. She's 90, almost 91, baby. And I'm extremely blessed that, generally speaking, I mean, she has issues, but generally speaking, her lungs and her heart are strong. Yeah, so and her attitude is good, which we're working, trying to keep going. And I'm hoping that for Passover we can have her on virtually on the Zoom Seder. Yeah. God knows how many of us are actually going to be at my house. We may be having 3 or 4 people calling into the virtual Seder. We'll do a Zoom one. Yeah. And but because I want to keep my mom's spirits up. But it's scary. Absolutely. Sorry, especially because of her age. But she sounds good though.
Good.
All right. Well, give her our best.
Thank you.
If we could do anything, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. Anything else, Ed?
That's it, guys. We'll see you here at the same time tomorrow at 4:00 to cover the next section. And other than that, if any of you guys need some inspiration in the morning, we do have a short call at 9 a.m. where we go over a little bit on some stats going on in the market, some scripts that you can use in today's bizarre market, and just some motivational stuff to get us all positive to get you up and rolling. 9 a.m.
Is there a link?
Thanks, Ed.
Is there a link?
What do you got, Tim?
Yeah, there's a link for that. It should have already been emailed to you, but it's the same. It's the same every day. That link does not change, just as this link that goes to the shift call. It's the same every day. But if you're missing it, Tim, I can I'll send it to you right now. If anyone else is missing it, email it to me as well, and we'll make sure to get it out to you.
It should go out with the daily update every day too.
Oh, the daily text?
Yeah. There's a lot of info in there, but I try to keep it in there every day.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a great day.
All right, you guys. Love you all. See you soon.
Thank you.